Welcome back to Unstable TV! And you're true to Irish Couple Reacts. And do stay tuned because this happens every week.
So if you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment and hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of these videos. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you!
Thanks for joining us for another react! So Danielle, what are we reacting to on Unstable TV?
So we are reacting to theories that massively change how we view the end of Squid Game.
Let's go!
Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and this is me before watching Squid Game. This is me after, and that's because the series is filled with lots of over-the-top deaths, challenges, and a major twist ending that has a lot going on with it. Because of the major reveals, there's several fan theories floating around about the show, including how Gi-Hun almost became a god, his relationship with Ilnam, the VIPs, and a lot more. Throughout this video, we're going to be breaking down the best of them, but I'm putting a red light on right now if you don't want any spoilers. If you enjoy the video, then please hit the thumbs up button, and also make sure you subscribe for breakdowns like this each and every day. With that out of the way, thank you for clicking this. Now let's get into our Squid Game theories. Okay, so throughout the series we learn a lot about the setup of the Squid Game, including the guards and also those in control. Though the security that works in the compound seems like they're all part of the vast organisation too, it could be that they were selected much in the same way that all of the players were. In episode 1 we come across a mysterious character played by Gong-Yoo who offers Gi-Hun two choices. He can either pick a blue card or a red card, and Gi-Hun goes with the latter, which could end up cementing which type of player that he is in the game. Lucy.What1 on TikTok came up with a theory the other day that had Gi-Hun chosen the red card, that he could have ended up becoming a god instead of the player that he was. If we're going deeper into this, then it's definitely a possibility, and the gods themselves seem just as trapped as the players are. They sleep in cells, are killed for even revealing their faces, and though they seem like they're in control, we can see from the way that they're treated that they actually have very little power. They also have very little knowledge of what's actually going on, and don't know who each other are. Everyone is kept in the dark so that they can leave the facility without really knowing the truth, and therefore it seems that this might be a one-time thing for them, just like the players. Similar to the players, they're also given numbers, and this is definitely an interesting theory. The more we learn about the game, the more it seems like the gods are almost just as powerless as the players, hinting towards this perhaps being the case. Now in our last video, we talked about all the clues and hints that Ilnam was actually the one in control of the game. This included things like the files starting at 2 instead of 1, him instructing the frontman to end the riots, and also the marbles area being modelled on his childhood home. The marbles one was where he faked his own death, and this enabled him to leave the game before the numbers were whittled down even further. Though it seemed like the perfect plan, it may have been a last minute one, and it could be that he was actually never supposed to play it in the first place. Now shoutouts Fahim Zaman, who on our last video theorised that Ilnam didn't actually want to be picked for this, but Gi-Hun showed him some compassion, and this is why he let him win and proceed to the next round. If we look at the day before, Ilnam was incredibly ill, or at least he said he was. Throughout the games, he was pretty much seen as just a liability, and as the lead up to the marbles involved partnering up with people, it could be that he actually intended to come across so bad that no one would ever choose him. However, Gi-Hun did, and instead 2-on-2 was the one that was left behind. Now I've been thinking about this since Fahim wrote it, and I think that the competition from this point onwards could have gone one of two ways. The first is that Ilnam knew that not being picked in this meant he'd get a free pass to the next round. Because of this, he could purposely pretend to be ill in the hopes that no one would choose him, and he'd sail right through it. He doesn't make any effort to even try and get a partner, and it's clear that he just wanted to sit at the back and keep a low profile. The second option is that he could have used this opportunity to fake his own death. When 2-on-2 is left behind at the beginning of the game, the show leads us to believe that she's going to be killed because she's the odd one out. However, she is saved, but I do think it's possible that had Ilnam been left behind at this point, that he would have used it to make his exit. The glass hopping game is super unpredictable because not only do you have to make sure that no one gets last place before you do, but you also have to hope that no one ends up pushing you through one like what we see. The guards at this point were under a strict policy to kill every player that attacked another one, but they seem to completely waive it at this point because it's all part of the game. Now it could also be that Ilnam was no longer playing and therefore they didn't need to have it in place for his safety, but either way, this is one of the most dangerous games to be a part of. Anyway, the relationship between Gi-Hun and Ilnam is sort of a weird one. Though it seems like the Squid Game is some Willy Wonka-esque way to choose someone to take his fortune, there may be other layers to it, and it is possible that Ilnam is actually Gi-Hun's father. Now the first step towards this is pretty surface level, but nevertheless it's something that we need to talk about. Both Ilnam and Gi-Hun are the first and last players of the game, and therefore their numbers have been clearly put in place to highlight to us that they are opposites. This can be applied to a number of things, including Gi-Hun being a poor player, whilst Ilnam is the overseer of the entire operation. Now this doesn't really bring anything to confirm that they are related, but the numbers are purposely picked to show us that there is something tying the two together. Episode 3 gives us the first real big clue, as in that we find that Gi-Hun is lactose intolerant. He can't have the regular milk that the gods hand out, and therefore he requests chocolate instead. Ilnam overhears this and says to him that he must have been beaten by his dad when he was younger because he used to do the same to his son. On a second viewing of the season, this line stands out a lot, and there's another one when the pair play marbles. The whole area is purposely meant to resemble a Korean neighborhood, and though many of you pointed out on my last video that this doesn't really mean anything, comments by the characters definitely hold some significance. Now not only does Ilnam find an area that looks exactly like his home, but Gi-Hun also says that the alley next to it is similar to where he grew up. It is possible that the pair are indeed related, but that they became estranged throughout their life whilst Ilnam was off playing Battle Royale. If that's indeed the case, then the entire games could have been set up to test whether his son is worthy to take over the mantle or not. The ending of the series has him inheriting Ilnam's money and joining him beside his deathbed. Though it seems like the game dies with him, we learn in the final few scenes that it's actually still going, and Gi-Hun ends up abandoning his trip to LA to stop things from moving forward. But what if he doesn't, and instead he eventually ends up taking over everything? After all, Gi-Hun is now extremely rich, and he may end up facing the boredom that Ilnam and the other VIPs do. We also see the idea of abandoning a child reflected in his stance at the end of the season. Gi-Hun was supposed to be travelling to LA to meet his daughter, but he's left her to get involved with the games instead. This could be the writers subtly hinting to us that something similar happened to Ilnam. Perhaps he too was supposed to go and get his child, but instead he took a different path and ended up abandoning him in order to set up the games, which would be reflected by Gi-Hun, who's now doing the same thing. Now the next one isn't so much a theory as it's a comment on us as an audience and how we are very similar to the VIPs. On our last video, Oval12Y left a comment discussing how they operate, and in many ways we are very much the same as them. In the season they arrive, lounge around as an audience, and watch the players die for their own entertainment. Though we're meant to look down on them and see them as evil, this is also something that we are doing too. As much as the show was a shock to the system, we very much enjoyed it just as much as they do, and similar to them, we're anonymous to each other. We are very much the eyes of the VIPs, sat in our own homes, seeing the games play out before our very eyes. Now the final theory centers around the frontman, who we learn is controlling the game whilst Ilnam plays it. We know very little about the character beyond the fact that he's Hwang Jun-ho's brother and that he disappeared in 2015. Episode 5 ends with Hwang Jun-ho coming across a filing system that contains all of the player profiles. In these he finds his brother, and therefore we can guess that he too was part of the process. Because he's still alive, he likely won it, and it is possible that he ended up becoming an overseer in the system, much like our theory for Gi-Hun's future. Now why I brought this up is because it clearly shows that there is precedent for winning players to end up taking part in an authority role, and therefore it could be easy for Gi-Hun to follow in his footsteps. I think it would be even wilder if it actually turned out that Gi-Hun, Hwang Jun-ho and the frontman were all in some way related to Ilnam, and that they'd been put through their paces by their father to see if they were worthy enough to inherit the game. That would just be crazy for me. And also quick correction on the last video, just a quick one. Now I did mention that the wall markings were actually showing the players what games they'd be playing in advance, and no, I said the triangle was the Last Supper, it's actually the marbles game. Shoutouts to everyone who pointed that out on the last video, I love you, and yes, I would have failed the Squid Game because of that terrible mistake. Anyway, there's a lot to think about, and what I love about Squid Game is that there's so many different things you can pull from it. Make sure you drop your best theories in the comment section below, and we might end up talking about them in an upcoming video on the series. I still want to do a season 2 video, but I'm just waiting for more info to drop. But yeah, either way, definitely keep an eye out for that. If you want something else to watch, then we have 2 great Squid Game videos linked on screen right now.
That was an amazing video, well put together. Big shout out to the original content creator, and big shout out to Squid Game because it is amazing and we have watched it all.
So what do you think of that?
Amazing.
Yeah.
The writing down to the actual show itself, how it reflects the audience as well as the foreshadowing, how everything connects to each other in one way similar, or it has so much backstory to work on for everyone. It's amazing. So I really can't wait for season 2, to be honest. What did you think of it?
Well, there's just one thing I have to say here. I didn't need to be called out like that, so that's that. I like the theory about Il-nam being their dad.
Yeah, that's really good.
Now, I don't think he's the 3 of their dads, like they said. I think if it is gonna go down that road, it'll probably just be Gi-Hun's one.
Yeah.
One makes sense because he kind of just, them 2 kind of just latched on to each other. But then again, would you not remember what his dad looked like?
That's
but
true.
That comes down to when the dad left. So I don't know.
Yeah, because he could look a lot different to what he was back then.
That's
and
true.
But it sounds of speculation, it's supposed to be from when he's very young.
Yeah.
That explains why he was getting more and more upset in the Korean neighborhood. You know, when he was like, it's similar to his as well, and he keeps talking about how he watched the kids playing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because he has a lot of memories of when his child is infant, not actually senior.
Oh, actually, yeah. I didn't think of it like that. That's true.
Yeah.
And I like the comparison to Willy Wonka as well.
Yeah.
That's a weird way of giving someone your chocolate factory, but
I mean, it's not majorly off.
I mean, I suppose that's kind of what Willy Wonka did as well.
Yeah, he's like, you get something, not nothing.
You get nothing.
So do let us know down in the comments below. Is there anything you guys could add to this list? And if you did see the Squid Games, do let us know what you guys thought of it. We'd love to hear from you. And if you have anything similar like the Squid Games you could suggest to us to react to, we'd love to hear from you.
And yeah, let us know if you think there's going to be a season 2 and what you think it might be too. They might use an actual squid this time.
They might actually play board games. So on that note, we will chop ourselves out of this.
So as always, you are the beautiful people of YouTube, and we have been Unstable TV.
So drop a comment below and let us know what you thought of this reaction video. And if you have any suggestions for us to do, let us know too.
And as always, we will see you in the next one. Bye.